This week and next, I want to talk about the topic of faith and doubt. I personally believe that there's so much about the whole concept of faith that is misunderstood, not only by the secular community, but by Christians as well. So whether you're new to the Christian faith or you've been walking with the Lord for 50 years, I'm pretty confident that you're going to discover some aspects of the whole concept of faith that you may have never considered before. Now let me start by asking some big questions that have been pondered by fallible human beings since the beginning of creation. Questions like, does God really exist? Is there life after death? Is the universe just an accident? Or did a personal God create it for a reason? Will we all one day be held morally accountable for our lives and our choices? Is the Bible an authoritative and reliable guide to life and to God? Or has it been discredited by historical criticism and science? Do you ever ponder questions like that? Like in the middle of the night, do you ever wonder, is it all really true? Well, there are many people in our day who say that faith doesn't make any sense at all. In fact, recently there have been a number of best-selling books that are kind of evangelizing, if you will, for atheism. There's a popular book by a philosopher named Daniel C. Dennett. It's called Breaking the Spell. And his claim is that for too long, religious faith has been protected by the idea that it's somehow holy or sacred, and it hasn't been subjected to the kind of critical thinking that would reveal it to be nonsensical. Now, there's another writer, Sam Harris, graduated from Stanford University. He's written a couple of books recently. One of them is called The End of Faith. And in it, listen to this, he writes, "We have names for people who have many beliefs for which there are no rational justification. When their beliefs are extremely common, we call them religious. Otherwise, they're likely to be called mad, psychotic, or delusional. While religious people are not generally mad, their core beliefs absolutely are." Okay, there's another book written by Christopher Hitchens. It's called God is Not Great, How Religion Poisons Everything. Okay, the title pretty much tells you where that book is headed. But it's not just atheists and agnostics writing books who struggle with questions. I mean, oftentimes, at some point or another, people who want to believe find it a struggle. Somebody trusts God for 20 years for the healing of an alcoholic father, but he never changes. Another prays for more than a decade for a sister with a mental health illness, but she eventually commits suicide. I ran across this quote the other day. "The God I used to believe in was very easy to hear and follow, but now I'm in the dark and he feels like a stranger. I'm praying, but I'm getting nervous he won't answer because I now have so little faith, not even the size of a grain of mustard seed." Faith is the cornerstone of both our initial salvation and our ongoing walk with the Lord. So it's important to walk through this whole concept of faith. What it is, what it isn't, why we believe, and how we can deal with doubts. In my 42 years as a believer, I've heard a world of information from Christian teachers on the whole subject of faith. And some of it was really good, but some of it was really off base. And since there's no way to have a strong attachment to God if there are deep questions in our minds that we've been afraid to look at honestly, because of that, a proper understanding of faith is absolutely critical. So let's begin by making some general observations about the relationship between faith and doubt. Observation number one, doubt is an inescapable part of the human condition. Let me say that again. Doubt is an inescapable part of the human condition. There's no such thing as doubt-free living. Part of what it means to be a finite creature with a limited IQ is there's no escape from doubt. And this hits us in many arenas. When I got married at the young age of 21, many of my friends questioned my decision. And there was no doubt-free guarantee that it was the right decision. I knew I wanted to do it. I thought it was a good decision. I knew I was marrying up. It's been said that all men marry up, and that's probably true. But other than trusting Christ, you know what? Marrying Wendy turned out to be the best decision of my life. But there was no guarantee. And with most major decisions, there are always lurking doubts. We live in the condition of doubt. Now, there can be a number of factors that lead people into doubt, like depression, ignorance of the truth, sin in a person's life. But even apart from those factors, doubt is still an inescapable part of being a finite creature. Like if you want a doubt-free existence, you've chosen the wrong species. That's part of why in the book of Jude, God says this, be merciful to those who doubt. Jude 1:22. Why? Because that's all of us at one time or another. That's me. I mean, I've been through some serious dark times of doubt in my past, but God led me through them. And I would never, ever trade those times because I grew enormously by honestly facing my questions and doubts. I mean, doubts are a part of the human condition. And if you choose to wait until all doubt is removed before you make a commitment in life, you will never get married. You'll never take a job. You'll never have a child. You'll never make a friend. And worst of all, you will never follow God. So doubt is an inescapable part of the human condition. That's my first observation. Okay, observation number 2 is this. Every human being lives by faith. Yeah, let me say that again. Every human being lives by faith. I mean, have you ever heard someone say, I wish I could have faith, but I just can't. It's just too hard. Well, the idea behind that kind of thinking is that some people have faith and some people don't. That some live only by what can be proven, by what is rational and logical, and others are faith kind of people. Well, the point I want to make right now is that the whole idea that some people live by faith and others don't, it's just not true. Every human being lives by faith all the time. And many of you, you've heard some common illustrations for everyday faith. Like you have faith whenever you sit down on a chair that someone hasn't rigged that chair to collapse on you, or that termites haven't been chewing on it for months. I mean, every time you cruise through a green light, you have faith that the individual coming the other way isn't going to run that red light and slam into you. I mean, you had faith that your husband or your wife didn't slip something into your coffee this morning to cash in on that big life insurance policy. I mean, we exercise faith all the time. But let me illustrate faith in a little different way. You know, many, many years ago, I went on a youth retreat with a bunch of teenage students to Panama City Beach, Florida. And all the youth, they're having a blast and they're getting so passionate about their walk with the Lord. It was just fantastic. And we had just come out of this great time of worship and instruction in the Word. And I mean, the sun was shining brightly. The blue-green waves were crashing against the ocean shore. And as I was walking along the beach, I was seized by this thought. Wow, it is so good to be alive. I mean, how fortunate I am to be sucking air into my lungs on this earth right here and now. Now, if you try to prove a statement like it's good to be alive right now, and if you wait to believe it until a physicist or a biologist or a mathematician can prove it, then you might as well buy the dirt farm right now because it cannot be proven. It's what might be called a basic conviction, like the belief that children deserve lavish love or that all human beings are created equal. I mean, these are beliefs that cannot be proven in a scientific or mathematical or logical sense, but there are good reasons to hold them to be true. And they're not just emotional states or preferences like, I like vanilla, I like chocolate ice cream, whatever. Now, the scripture tells us why we ought to believe that it's good to be alive. It's because in the beginning, when God spoke the heavens and the earth into existence, he saw what he created. And over again, he declared, it is good. It is good. God said, man, I'm on a roll here. Day 1, day 2, day 3. I've got my A game going today. Now, we know creation has been marred by sin. That happened with the fall. I mean, we know that, we feel that. But in those moments when we're aware that life is good, that conviction, it's not just a survival instinct or genetic programming or an emotional state. It's tied to the way things are. And it points back to the Creator who said, it is good. Now, of course, not everyone sees things that way. Jennifer Hecht has written a book entitled Doubt, a History. And in this book, she offers an assessment scale to judge where you are when it comes to the God question. And at one far end of the scale, she offers this explanation of how things might be. This is what she writes. The universe is nothing but an accidental pile of stuff jostling around with no rhyme or reason. And all life on earth is but a tiny, utterly inconsequential speck of nothing in a corner of space, existing in the blink of an eye, never to be judged, noticed, or remembered. Is that vaguely depressing to any of you? Well, imagine a conversation between two people. And one of them says, the universe is nothing but a pile of stuff. Well, the other says, no, I think it was created by someone, by a personal God, and for a reason. See, here's my point. That's not a conversation between a person with faith and a person without faith. Neither position can be proven. Both positions are faith statements. Both of them rest on a series of beliefs, and both are based on faith. Now, we don't like having to live by faith. And every once in a while, someone will try to figure out a way to live without faith, to live only on the basis of what he or she knows for sure. Many centuries ago, there was a philosopher that some of you may remember from like a high school or college class. His name was Rene Descartes. And he asked the question, what's the one thing I can know for sure without any doubt? And what he came down to was this. At least I know that I exist because I'm the one who is doubting. I'm the one who is asking the question. And he summarized his thoughts in the now famous statement, cogito ergo sum. I think, therefore I am. I mean, that makes sense to me. But you want to know something? There's a whole school of philosophy that seeks to undermine Descartes' position. It's built on the idea that truth cannot be known. It's called skepticism. But since we're out of time on this episode, we will talk about skepticism and two more crucial observations about faith and doubt next week on Tipping Sacred Cows.